Look at some honorable mention running backs for the league coming into the next year. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some backs that I'm looking at, and they've been here for a while, or they've definitely made their mark. They're trying to come back to a good place of them being on a place of relevancy and possibly making a list. So, these are guys that I really do think they've shown had a pretty good year, and they have the ability of being impactful for their teams. And we start with Tony Pollard from the Tennessee Titans, the ex-Dallas Cowboy running back, came from his 1,000-yard season, signed with Tennessee, and he's been pretty good for Tennessee since he's been on the team. So you have to give him some credit for sure. Last year he was an honorable mention. This year he's an honorable mention. He's 28 years old, 6 years in the league, 2 years, $13.75 million on the contract. Played 16 games, had 260 carries, 1,079 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4.2 yards per carry, 67.4 yards per game, 41 receptions for 238 yards, 14.9 yards per game. In terms of the receiving, had 1,317 scrimmage yards, 2 fumbles, and he broke 24 tackles. He was eighth in carries in the league. Yeah, again, it's nothing that's super outstanding or something that stands out. It's just the fact that his productivity has given him 1,000 yards for I believe like 3 years for now. So 3 years of 1,000 yard seasons is something that you need to really uh, be proud and content about. And again, he's been a reliable back for the team. So overall, I think he's deserving of being relevant. We'll see if he can continue to step up and do what he needs to do. I don't know if he'll ever be a top 10 guy, but this guy can be relevant for a long time if he continues on the path and Tennessee continues to involve him in terms of the offense. We have a bruiser of a running back and from the Arizona Cardinals, and that's going to be James Conner. Yeah, James Conner has been very productive for this team. Obviously, great story from him. Beat cancer, came back, played football, and he's been reliable ever since. So, a guy that's started his career in Pittsburgh, was okay. I think didn't really get a true shot at being the number one. So, you know, shipped him to Arizona, and here we are. He's definitely made his presence felt there. He's definitely a very key piece to the offense, and he needs to be recognized. Last year, he was an honorable mention. This year, again, honorable mention. 30 years old, 8 years in the league, 2 years, $12.25 million. 16 games that he played, 236 carries, 1,094 yards, 8 touchdowns. He had 4.6 yards per carry, 68.4 yards per game. Had 47 receptions for 414 yards and a receiving touchdown, 25.9 receiving yards per game. Did have 1,508 scrimmage yards, 4 fumbles, and he broke 36 tackles. So overall, again, he's a bruiser, he's a power back. He's definitely what you want on, if you're trying to create an identity like that. Definitely, obviously, a good third down back. Definitely has the ability of being both great on the run game and the pass game. So again, very reliable for the team. Hopefully they stick with him. Obviously he's aging, but I think he'll be fine, especially if he continues to do what they're asking him to do. So overall, I think it's a good it's a good player, and I'm excited to see what he does in the upcoming year, and hopefully he continues to produce for the team. We do have one of the biggest drop offs in terms of player movement. So it's Najee Harris. I mean, he was a top 10 running back. He's number six specifically last year. I felt like he was just a workhorse, reliable, obviously blaming the Pittsburgh's offensive line for his struggles and not being able to really find much space to get enough running room. Obviously, now he's going into a situation where it's a new team. He's on the Chargers. They're probably going to use him, play action. They're going to use him and obviously the running game as well to let Justin Herbert not throw so many times. And again, he's young, so they're going to rely on him. He's a workhorse that does not get injured and another powerful running back, right? Um, he's 27 years old, 4 years in the league. He signed 1 year, $5.25 million contract with the Chargers. It's kind of a prove it deal. He did play 17 games, all 17, 263 carries, 1,043 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 yards per carry, 61.4 yards per game, 36 receptions for 283 yards, 16.6 yards per game, 1,326 scrimmage yards, 29 broken tackles. In the playoffs, the one game that he played, he had 6 rushes for 17 yards, 2.8 yards per carry, 3 receptions for 41 yards, and he had 1 broken tackle. He was 7th in carries in the NFL. Again, definitely proved he's a reliable player to be on the field on Sundays. Doesn't get injured. His like the whole point of his countdown and being where he's at is honestly based on the fact that he just doesn't really get carries for large gains. And obviously, playoff time, you want to see some big running back numbers. It's when the stars come out. I feel like he's been a okay player, and I think he's going to be better with Los Angeles, and I do believe that he can be a top 10 guy again. I need to see more of it. It's a consistent, barely cracking 1,000 yards, and the yards per carry is very concerning. So I can blame the offensive line. That's fair. That's understandable. But at some point, I just need to see more out of him. I think it's definitely a prove it type of year for him to see what kind of running back he is, especially how high he got drafted. I believe he can make an impact. Absolutely. What is he going to do with it? Is he going to be? Is he going to have numbers that are more than just barely cracking 1,000? That's what I want to see. Right now, that's just where he's at. There's just running backs that have just been better this year than him, and it's again the consistent low type 1,000 yard rushing yards and all that and all just inconsistent of having like the great like numbers that I'm seeing and want to see, right? So if you can show me that, I could see him going higher and obviously being back on the countdown. This is kind of like I said, his proven season. Next up, we got Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints. Definitely a guy that was top 10 in many people's list a few years ago, absolutely. And definitely a guy that's had his share of injuries and durability issues, right? But still, he's definitely blossomed this year and has become a lot better as a running back. His numbers definitely got better. Honestly, the interesting fact about him is he's never cracked 1,000 rushing yards in a year, and I think that's probably the most unattractive thing when you're looking at it like a running back. You want him to have the numbers, you want to see something out of there. You can have all these great receiving numbers, but if you don't even have 1,000 rushing yards, it's kind of like you're a utility guy, but you're not like it doesn't feel like you're like a number one guy. You're not going to be feared as much as like a Saquon example. So overall, I think he's a great player. I think he's definitely stepped up. Obviously had a better year this year, but not cracking 1,000 yards is rough. Alvin Kamara, 29 years old, 8 years in the league, 2 years, $14.49 million, 14 games played, 228 carries, 950 yards, 4.2 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns, 67.9 yards per game, 68 receptions for 543 yards and 2 touchdowns, 38.8 yards per game, had 1,493 scrimmage yards, had a fumble, and broke 15 tackles. Again, solid year. Hope to see more of it. I hope that he actually cracks 1,000 yards. I really believe they're going to definitely handle the ball a lot more with Derek Carr's retirement. I believe he's obviously going to have more carries and more of the load will be on him to make a difference in the offense for this team and obviously for the rebuild for them. So I think Alvin Kamara still has some time, and I do want to see him obviously crack a list again and hopefully, like I said, have 1,000 rushing yards and continue to be a very, very vital piece for New Orleans. Next up, we do have Travis Etienne Jr. out of Jacksonville Jaguars team. Yeah, he's a guy that's has a lot of hype towards him. Obviously, like a Trevor Lawrence, and it feels like it's more of a letdown more than an actual superstardom type start for him. I do believe that he has the ability of being relevant. I do believe his numbers can get there. It's the fact of what are they going to do with him? How are they use him in the offense? Can he get comfortable in a good enough space to produce what he wants to produce? And that's I want to see him get 1,000 yards. So this is a guy that I feel like has a lot of potential. I think he's still relevant, but it's dwindling down, especially if they don't use him or he doesn't produce the numbers that obviously maybe like for me and for a general NFL fan would want. I feel like he needs to he needs to have a breakout year. I think this could be it. Obviously, this team is very shaky, so that's a lot of expectations. But I do want to see more of ETN and him getting better as a football player. Travis Etienne, 26 years old, 4 years in the league. He's got 1 year, $6.14 million left on that rookie contract. 15 games that he played, 150 carries, 558 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3.7 yards per carry, 37.2 yards per game, which is absolutely awful. 39 receptions for 254 yards. He had 16.9 receiving yards per game, 812 scrimmage yards, a fumble, and broke 7 tackles. So again, I want more. I need more, and if he can continue and he can work on it and hopefully break out, I would love to see him higher. Um, Top 10 guy. I feel like it's far fetched for a top 10 list, but I mean, you never know. He needs a breakout year though. We got Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots. This is a guy that's underrated. I feel like not many people pay attention to his caliber, his talent, potential. I do believe he's a vital piece to a team that's obviously rebuilding to try to be a playoff contender once again. I think it's going to help Drake May's growth. Definitely, when in doubt, you give it to Stevenson. And I mean the fact that uh, he can get it at the goal line. He can make some good runs, and he's a good receiving back. I think that's really good to have the hybrid. So I do believe he's got um, a huge impact on the organization and what they do in terms of their offense in the long run, right? So I do like him a lot. Last year he was an honorable mention. This year, again, he's an honorable mention. 27 years old, 4 years in the league. He's got 4 years, $28 million on the contract. 15 games played, 207 carries for 801 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3.9 yards per carry, 53.4 yards per game, 33 receptions for 168 yards. He had a touchdown, 11.2 receiving yards per game, 969 scrimmage yards, 7 fumbles, and 17 broken tackles. The fumbles need to obviously be limited. And again, I want to see him crack 1,000. But overall, I think he's pretty impactful for the team, and obviously, I think he makes them better. So he is relevant, and he is a solid choice for an honorable mention pick right now. Obviously, we'll see more of this team. Obviously, they've drafted well in terms of their offense. So, what are they going to get? How are they going to involve Stevenson, and how is this Pat offense going to get even better than than the atrocious time that they've had? So overall, I do believe his impact is great, and he should be on a list. We have a guy that was an honorable mention last year, honorable mention this year. It's Brees Hall. Um, Definitely, obviously, had a pretty bad injury from his knee. So, a lot of people look at that, they're like, oh, he's not going to be the same. I think he's been great. I think great at jump cutting and making the quick ball carrier vision decisions of figuring out what's open and where he can go to, and has like he does have potential of dominating a game. So really good back, really young, definitely going to learn and continue to be better. I do believe this is a potential of him being a top 10 player on the list. Again, it's just youth and just trying to figure out the ins and outs of the league and trying to get better as an individual. So I do think he's got a lot of positive factors to him, and he's entertaining to watch. Man, it really is really hard to bring down. He's 23 years old, 3 years in the league. He's got 1 year, $3.4 million left on his rookie deal. 16 games that he played, 209 carries, 876 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4.2 yards per carry, 54.8 yards per game, 57 receptions for 483 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had 30.2 receiving yards per game, 1,259 scrimmage yards, 6 fumbles, and 13 broken tackles. Again, limit the fumbles, absolutely. Overall, though, very, very athletic and a really, really good fundamental player. Definitely excited to see what he does. I think, obviously, the Jets are lucky to have him, and hopefully they do not waste his prime years. You look at bruising running backs, you got to look at David Montgomery. Um, he's he's the lightning, or he's the thunder, and Jamir Gibbs is the lightning. I feel like Montgomery really brings the boom. Obviously, he doesn't start every game, but his impact is very, very evident. You can tell at times when they're going to need a drive and they need a score. They're going to make sure Montgomery's in there because he's Marshawn-like in terms of he pushes the ball very hard to bring down, and he's a stud, really. Has been really reliable since he's been in Detroit. He was great in Chicago, had the ability of wanting a running back one role. I think he's done a really good job, and the unselfishness of knowing that I'm going to share carries with another running back, but has made the most out of that. So, I mean, you got to give him a lot of props. David Montgomery has done wonders. Has done wonders. 27 years old, 6 years in the league, 3 years, $21 million on the deal. 14 games played, 185 carries, 775 yards, 12 touchdowns, 4.2 yards per carry, 55.4 yards per game, 36 receptions for 341 yards, 24.4 receiving yards per game, had 1,116 scrimmage yards, 2 fumbles, and broke 30 tackles, though. In the playoffs, the one game against the Commanders, which they lost, he had 7 carries, he had 28 yards, 4 yards per carry, and a broken tackle. He was 9th in rushing touchdowns in the league. Obviously, end zone type dude. Overall, I'm excited to see what he does, and I think he's going to continue to accept that role, and I'm excited to see his impact for this team. Next up, we do have Devon Etienne, the Miami Dolphins running back. Obviously, Mostert took a step back. Etienne came in, had a great rookie year, and I think he just got more involved this year, and it was great to see that. Definitely a bright future for Miami in terms of this position. I believe he's lightning quick and definitely hard to bring down because of the lightning quickness. So overall, I am excited to see his progression, and obviously he is young, so he's only going to get better. I do believe he can be a top 10 player. So overall, last year he was an honorable mention. This year he's also an honorable mention. 23 years old, 2 years in the league, 2 years, $2.73 million on his rookie deal. 17 games played, 203 carries, 907 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4.5 yards per carry, 53.4 yards per game, 78 receptions for 592 yards and 6 touchdowns with 34.8 receiving yards per game. Had 1,499 scrimmage yards, 1 fumble, and 12 broken tackles. Obviously, they didn't get the chance of making it to the playoffs, but this is a bright spot for them. I think it's going to help Tua as well, kind of take his shoulders off of always throwing the ball. I mean, they're a running team. They got a lot of speed. They're going to use it. Etienne's definitely an impactful player. He's going to continue to be an impactful player, especially with the aging of Tyreek eventually. I believe the future definitely is going to be in his hands, and I'm excited to see what he does this year. Up, we got a new member of an honorable mention slash list. It's Bucky Irving for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah, I mean, Bucky came from Oregon, got drafted. Um, I don't think many people knew about him, neither did I, about the impact he was going to make for Tampa. He's made it, pretty much stole Rashad White's job, and I definitely expect him to also be a pretty key role in possibly having a list where he's a top 10 guy. So, look for him in terms of the future for sure. It definitely, like I said, it definitely helped having Bucky, especially with Baker's arm. He had some great games. He had a great year. He's had some pretty bad mistakes in the interception level, but I think Bucky Irving has just made it so the offense can spread out more and there's more options there. So that's always a good thing. And again, he exploded, which is a great thing for this team because they do have a pretty dynamic offense. Um, Bucky Irving, 22 years old, 1 year in the league, 3 years, $3.22 million, 17 games played, 207 carries, 1,122 yards, 8 touchdowns, 5.4 yards per carry, 66 yards per game, 47 receptions for 392 yards, 23.1 receiving yards per game. He had 2 fumbles, 1,514 scrimmage yards, 18 broken tackles. In the playoffs, he did play the game against the Commanders, which they lost. He had 17 rushes, 17 carries for 77 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, 2 receptions for 6 yards and a touchdown, and a broken tackle. He wasn't in the all rookie team. He was 6th in Offensive Rookie of the Year, 10th in scrimmage yards in the league, 10th in rushing yards in the league, and 6th in yards per carry. So, again, great year. Hopefully, there's no sophomore slump in him. I do like Bucky Irving, and I think we'll see what he does for the team and if he continues to have that mainstay of a role for his running back one position. So we got a new member on this list um, for running backs, which is always a great thing, especially with running backs. For a while, looked like they were getting shortened. But we got Chuba Hubbard from the Carolina Panthers. We'll see about his impact. I believe they drafted a running back. So I don't know if he'll just be like a David Montgomery, Jamir Gibbs type situation. Who knows? But I mean, he's been pretty solid, and I feel like a running back one is deserved for him. He's 25 years old, 4 years in the league, 4 years, $25.55 million. 15 games that he played, 250 carries, 1,195 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4.8 yards per carry, 79.7 yards per game, 43 receptions for 171 yards and a touchdown, 11.4 receiving yards per game, 1,266 scrimmage yards, 4 fumbles, and 21 broken tackles. He was 8th in rushing yards, he was 9th in yards per carry, and he was 7th in yards per game. Yeah, he had a great season. Definitely improved beyond all doubts. I believe obviously getting him involved a lot more helped for him. But yeah, his numbers definitely jumped up. Honestly, definitely a surprise to have him on it. A surprise the numbers were there, but it's nice to see players come into their own and develop. And he was one of the very, very few bright spots of this Carolina Panther team, which is trying to rebuild and contend. So I think having him on this team is very impactful. It's very needed, and I think in the long run they'll be using him consistently still, especially in the goal line. Overall, I'm excited for the future of him and for the team, and again, we'll see what happens, but he is relevant and he should be on this list. We do have Jamir Gibbs, who is the part 2 of the Lions. So again, he's the lightning. He's the quick guy but do not underestimate his toughness and his ability of breaking tackles. He's very hard to bring down, very tough, and just a solid player to rely on. So overall, I mean, Detroit has something here with their two-headed monster. So overall, Jamir Gibbs, I mean, has been very solid for him since being drafted. A great draft for him, and I mean, just just a solid football player, very young. Definitely could see him being a top 10 guy. Why was he not this year? It's honestly because he didn't even start that many games. He played he played all of them, but he didn't start them. So I need him to have a running back one type role. He needs to just start more than just, I believe, 6 games. So that's the only thing that hurt him. But other than that, his stats are amazing, and he could be. I mean, he could have even been this year a top 10 guy. So it's tough to make these decisions, but he still deserves to obviously be mentioned, right? So 23 years old, 2 years in the league, 2 years, $5.55 million on his rookie contract. 17 games played, 250 carries for 1,412 rushing yards, 16 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry, 83.1 yards per game, 52 receptions for 517 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, 30.4 receiving yards per game, 1,929 scrimmage yards, 1 fumble, and 25 broken tackles. The game against the Commanders, he had 14 carries for 105 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7.5 yards per carry, 6 receptions for 70 yards. I mean, this is very hard. I believe he definitely deserves a top 10 notice, but again, if he can start more, you're looking at possibly better numbers than that, which is insane. So, yeah, again, I'm excited to see what he does. I know he's going to be a top 10 guy sooner rather than later. So, again, very well deserved, and he is relevant for sure. Okay, and the last one we have is Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, he had a solid year. Definitely bounced back from his injury. Past 2 years of being injured and missing time. So it's nice to see him accumulate what he did this year. A guy that is a top 10 potential, but again, I need to see his health. I need him to I need to see his health 100%. I need to see a full season from him, more than just this year, because what happens, get injured next year? I mean, it's one of those, right? So I need to see a full, a consistent amount of time for him to get back. I do believe next year I could see him being a top 10 guy 100%. Last year was an honorable mention. Obviously, this year is an honorable mention. 26 years old, 5 years in the league, 2 years, $26 million, 14 games played, 303 carries, 1,431 yards, 11 touchdowns, 4.7 yards per carry, 102.2 yards per game, 18 receptions for 136 yards, 1 touchdown, 9.7 receiving yards per game, 1,567 scrimmage yards, 4 fumbles, and 17 broken tackles. He was a Pro Bowler. He was 5th in carries. He was 4th in rushing yards, 30 yards per game, and 7th in scrimmage yards. This is another case of it being hard for me to even not put him on there. Again, I just need to see another year full of healthy Jonathan Taylor for me to put him back on that list. So overall, though, great year. Definitely deserving of it, and I'm excited to see what he does, and hopefully he can continue to stay healthy so he can be on these countdowns and not an honorable mention guy.